Hi there, welcome to Dave in the Shed. I'm Dave and this is my little corner of the world, also known as the Shed Mahal. Now if you're into DIY, 3D printing and model trains, you've come to the right place. Now fair warning, I do things a little bit differently. I have cerebral palsy, which means sometimes things get a little bit creative around here, but hey, it just makes it more fun. So if you like making, fixing, and maybe even breaking things along the way, stick around. Hit that subscribe button and let's build something awesome together. Hello and welcome to this Dave in the Shed. I'm actually in the resin printing room, aka the dining room. It's Tuesday, day after Australia Day. That makes it, 27th of January. All the people have gone home. Shouldn't have any visitors for a couple of weeks, so it's okay to reset up my resin printing station. So I'm going to talk you through a few things in the setting up stage. So we're starting looking at doing a first print, because this, even though this is my second resin printer, it's the first print in this machine we're setting up now. I've already gone through the calibration on this machine. That's pretty easy if you follow the instructions. I've connected it to my Wi-Fi. That's all pretty simple stuff, hopefully. Now, what I'm going to do is just look at the what went wrong with my other one. Now, this is the printing vat, and this is where I went wrong, and this is a mistake you don't want to make. So on the bottom of this vat, and I'll show you where it goes in, there is a very fine piece of plastic, almost as thin, well, it is very, very, very thin, thinner than cling wrap. It's called a anyway, it's got a fancy name. They are a consumable. You do damage them, you do ding them, you have to replace them. It sits in a thing with a gasket. It's not that hard to replace. But the important thing is, when you get this, get these printers, well, this one you do from Creality, they send you a toolkit, and in the toolkit is a plastic scraper and a metal scraper. This is where I stuffed up completely. Do not, under any circumstances, put the metal scraper in there. Now, I've even left the protective cover on so I don't damage it. This is so fine, you do not want to damage that plastic in any way, and I'll tell you why in a sec. You do not want to damage that plastic in any way. There is a plastic scraper that is safe to go in there. This metal scraper must not go in that tub. Must not, because when the machine's running, that's full of resin. This is the resin we're about to put in the machine. We'll talk about that very soon. If you damage that and it's full of resin, the resin don't stay in there. It leaks out. And it will leak down into the machine. Now I'm just taking the cover off. So this is the resin vat. I'm actually going to unscrew this one. I was going to leave it all assembled to make life easier, but this just unscrews, 2 thumb screws. Sits on the machine. Now, so in this machine, down the bottom, right down in there, is a very, very strong UV light. Very, very, very strong. Top of there is like a LCD computer screen. So when it's working, a little pixel on that screen turns off, the UV shines through and exposes your resin. It's a photographic process, is the way to think of it, the old process. So, and then this bit here, this arm then lifts up a bit. We'll try and take some photo of it working, but it's very hard because you can't expose stuff. So this screws in here. Anyway, I'll take this off. So yeah, that's how. There's plenty of stuff online about how they actually work and how they work if you want to find out. But anyway, I'm going to do this setup. This is about the smallest, cheapest. I recommend this machine. These are fantastic. About the smallest, cheapest resin printers. If you want to have a go at resin printing, these ones, you can pick them up on the internet, about $170. Won't get you in too much trouble. Have a play. You're not too much out of pocket. And then if you buy it and don't like it, give me a shout and I'll take it off your hands. Anyway, right. So see this little thing? This is this little frame. If you put that metal scraper in there, in any way pierce that plastic, your resin leaks out and it goes down everywhere. Goes down in this little crack, would you believe? The resin, I thought I'd done a really, really good job of cleaning up my resin leak. But there's little holes in this machine where the resin can go down in, and the resin goes off in there. And because down in here is that very strong UV light, and you can then expose the resin. It then sets. You don't know how bad it is. You shut the machine down, clean it all up. 2 months later, you turn it on, the machine explodes, literally. Lets out the magic smoke. That's what I did. Lucky Creality worked with me, and I've got the new machine. So we know now from mistakes. Lucky it wasn't one of those $600, $7 machines. This plastic scraper in plastic vat. In fact, hopefully you won't need it if you're doing everything right. Hope I haven't put fingerprints all over that. Anyway, we should be right. So the next step. So metal scraper, not in plastic vat. Dave, not in anybody. So if you're playing with these things, this is, and I'll show you what this is later on because we're going to go through the printing process. I'm going to print up some rabbits and birds, some stuff that why we use a resin printer for, which they are brilliant for. I still swear by the filament printers for doing a lot of the stuff I do with filament printers, but if you want something really, really fine and really, really good, you go to a resin printer. Now this is the base model. This is only a 2K. If you think like TVs, this is 720p rate. You can get 4K, you can do that. But for an entry-level machine, if you're just doing basic stuff, now your print area is only that size. So this space, so it's not big. You're not going to do whole, well, in N gauge you might be able to do full N gauge bodies. You might be pushing your luck doing HO scale bodies, but if you're doing people and bits and pieces and that, I may be able to get away with doing some of my small engine locomotive parts in this, but it's not a big print area. It's also not fast. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill up this vat. I probably have to take the camera off to do this. And I'm going to fill it with resin. Now there's a line here on how much you actually fill with resin. That's your minimum line there, and that's your maximum, 400 mils. When you're setting up your files, they will tell you roughly how much resin you're going to use. See that max line over there? So don't overfill the machine. Now you will use some resin. Now the good thing about this is once you set it up and fill it with resin and leave the cover on, if the cover's on with the resin thing, you're not going to have the resin go off. Some people are concerned, but once you fill it, if you fill it and you're just going to do a batch, because it uses, and we'll talk about using the resin as we go along, once it's fill and charge, you can leave that in for, they say forever, they tell me, but I reckon after about 12, 18 months, you may want to change it. But once we've got that full with resin, we can do lots and lots of prints. It's not like something you've got to then clean it up between each printing, unless you're changing to a different resin or a different system for your initial setup. Once that's full of resin, we're ready to go. So I'm going to turn this camera off, and I'm going to fill this vat up with resin. So I've just filled the vat up. Now it says to shake up the resin before you take it out of the bottle, so it's a bit bubbly on top. So I'm going to let that settle for a bit, but because I'm going to go to the computer and set up the file I want to print, that's okay. Now, what I'll do is I'll put the cover on now. Now, interesting thing about these things, you can pause them. If you're running low on resin and you're keeping an eye on your machine, so if you're doing a big print, you can pause it and refill the vat up and keep going, as long as you're refilling it with the same resin you're using. So I've done that before. That's not a problem. So you pause your print, refill your vat if you think you're running low, so you don't just ruin your print. Not like an FDM printer where if it snaps the filament or something, you could write off a print. With this one, you can pause the printer, top on the tank. I don't know if that's for all printers, but I just know on this one. Anyway, let's get our cover on, because we don't want this UV, we don't want this resin to expose to too much UV, even from the fluoro lighting here. But anyway, I'll put the cover on and we'll be ready to go. So that is set up, ready to go. The cover's on. This is a UV protectant cover, because that is a very powerful UV light in there that you don't want your eyes really to be exposed to it. So that cover on. It also then protects the resin from UV exposure. So the resin I'm using is Creality, because I have used other brands, but I stick Creality because I can get it pretty cheaply, competitively off the internet, and also Creality machine, Creality resin. I just use all the Creality sellers in the Creality slicer, and away I go. Now the slicer is the software that takes a 3D image or program into a format this printer can read. And we'll go and have a look at that in a sec. I'll see how much I can get done. and show you, but that is what we're using in this machine. This print is a high precision, which means it's high quality. It's a skin colour. It's just easier for doing peoples and things and pieces. How much that weighs, it's a kilo, you buy it by the kilo. And away you go. And once again, the caution, that vat is now full of resin. Whatever you do, don't stick that metal scraper in there. Don't do that. Okay, don't do it, Dave. Okay, I'm going to go and set up a print file. I'll get back to you. This is one of those things they tell you absolutely you shouldn't do. I'm going to film, just film the computer screen. So for this test print, I'm not going to go anything elaborate. There actually is a test print that comes with the printer. When you buy those printers, you get a SD card. Well, you normally get a little card, USB stick or SD card, depending on the printer, with test files and bits and pieces. You get all the tools like the Allen keys, everything you need to get up and running. Sometimes you get some sample resin, sometimes you don't. Already had resin. So this is a slicer. I'm not going to go into any details of slicer. I'm using the slicer that is the Harlot box slicer for the Creality Harlot range of printers. I'm just using everything factory. So I've got here a selection of a couple of rabbits, a dog and some cats. I really actually want to print some seagulls and other birds, but this will do for the test. So when I've got them into my machine, these are nothing fancy. These are 3D files that I found on the internet free. I load them into the slicer. There's heaps of stuff online how to do that. And what I do is I tell it to slice. It's telling me the print. I don't know what's going on. No, it's not. It reckons one of these. Anyway, let's... doing this live. Come on, slice this. It's telling me that one of the files is bigger than what the machine can print, but I don't believe it. Slice. We want to go into supports. What I'm going to do is go... I'm just going to put everything on all. And that's what it's going to print. It's set that all up ready to that. We slice it. Then roughly shows me what it's going to print. And then I tell it to print. And it should go straight to the machine. It is going to the machine. I already told it where to find the machine. We've done all that setup. We'll do. So, oh, hang on. It wants a password for this printer. It shouldn't. There isn't one. Okay. Well, that failed miserably. Well, that failed miserably, my first attempt, and you probably won't see that. But anyway, I've set up my rabbits and my cats and my dog in the printer. There's supports on them because it's better to print with supports. If you've done 3D printing, you'll know all about that. If not, do some research. So it's ready to go. And I should be able to come over here and just push print. Now it wants a password because it's a network printer, and that is very secure password. I'm going to tell you what it is, 1, 2, 3, 4, like you're going to access my printer. And like I'm going to let you come back and do it. Because it's a network printer, you do that. I'm going to change that later anyway. And I'm even sharing my IP address, which is naughty, but you guys don't know how to crack in and do that and run this printer. And then I go, send file. And it's gone to the computer, it's send complete, it's gone to the printer, and it's ready to go. And it's going to start printing. So there it says start printing. Now that is going to take over the details. It says it's going to take 2 hours, 25 minutes. It's going to use that amount of resin, so it's really good in calculations. And there we go. So I'll talk to you in a bit after it's done. I'll take some video of it printing, but anyway, there we go. Setting up that printer, sent to that printer, and away we go. So I've got my file sent to the machine, and it is printing. One thing I like about the Creality printers is you do get a toolkit with all the stuff you need to get the printer up and running. You probably will need to buy resin and bits and pieces, but anyway, it's up and running and it's printing. Now, even though it's just tiny little things, when you see how tiny these things are, It is still going to, the thing about people don't tell you about 3D printing, it's a slow process. You see all those YouTube videos and you think, oh, that's wow. Now, they don't tell you that it may have taken them 4 days to print something. That's the bit that shocked me when I got into 3D printing. That's why I ended up with one machine. Soon after that, I had 2 machines. And then I went up to 4 machines, like we normally still have 4 machines. Because if you're printing a job, they're slow. One of my loco bodies in the O gauge, like the NJ loco body, even though it's just that size, it's about a day of printing, 24 hours of printing. Anyway, so this thing's printing. Now, it's 500, it's not a big print in this machine. It's going to take, it's been printing, as it says on the screen, for 6 minutes. It's got another hour and 52 to go. It's got all our printing. It's going to use X amount of filament, it tells you all that, like 4%. And that's the file name you see. But what it does, I don't know if you can see it, and we'll have the camera, and if you look at that, it's just going up and down in that vat of resin. So what it does is there it goes up and lowers down a bit and exposes the next bit of resin on the plate and up and down. Probably not explaining the process very well, but it is a photographic process. It's done behind that magic screen. Now, it's not easy to see because I've left the protective plastic on the cover, because I'm going to try and leave that as long as possible because it keeps it a bit neater. So that's going up and down in that vat, and each time it lifts up, it goes down and exposes the next layer, and it's collecting it in layers, and it's building up and up and up, and you'll see when it's finished what it looks like. But that is not that's not a lot of stuff. Big print. Normally when you're running these, you would then do a batch, like you would fill the whole print chamber and print as much as possible. Because the machine going up and down, by having a full print plate or a semi-print plate, the time roughly is the same. I hope that makes sense. So if you go into batch print models, you normally would do as much as you can in these machines, because of that up and down movement is set on a time. Now, I haven't adjusted any factory settings on my machines. I just leave them as is. I just use all the what they call default settings, and away we go. And yeah, and you'll see these figures and what happens next when they come out. But that's what's going on, and they will continue to go up and down for the next hour and 51 minutes. Well, our print has finished, as it says on the printing has completed. And first look at it, it's actually not too bad. I thought it might be a fader, but I think we did okay. So I'm just going to quickly lift the lid off the machine, just show you about. So there is the first look at our cats and our dog and our bin chicken. As I said, these are very, very tiny little things. The next part of the process is they come out of this and then they need to be washed. Sort of like being washed and drying. We're going to wash, like an old photography process, we're going to wash them, and then we're going to develop them or dry them or cure them. Now, from experience, I don't know if you just saw that drip, it's best not to rush the next part of the process. So I'm going to let that actually sit there with the cover back on, because it's a UV process. And I'm going to let it just drip off any excess resin for a little bit, because I just find that's excessive. As you can see over there on that thing, there's a few little bumps of resin sit on that build plate. But anyway, we will whip that off in a sec, and then after I have lunch, I'm going to go and have lunch about lunchtime, and then we'll move on to the next part of the process. But there you go, that's our finished print on the build plate, because it builds from the bottom up, or the top down, probably bottom up. Anyway, we'll see. I'll show you the next part of the process after I had lunch, but I'm just going to sit there and let for about a bit for any excess resin to drop back into the vat. So now our print's finished. I'm going to push OK down here. On these Creality machines, often when a print's finished, you've got to push OK to reset the machine. I've made that mistake so many times that I've sent another print through, and via the internet, so you can say, oh, I can't do that, because I haven't released the machine by pushing OK. So there's our print job done. Bear with me, I'm going to take the cover off the machine. What I'm going to do now is release the print bed, which is this thing, which is there's a big knob up here which I turn. Got gloves on so I don't get resin all over myself. And this just slides out. So there is our prints. Where is it? On the print bed. Now they're a little bit delicate at this stage. You've got to be a little bit careful. Now, of course these things are so tiny, and you'll see why. I'm just going to scrape them off the bed. And I'm going to use the, leave them on the, oh that's really good, I can't get the new thing out of the packet. I left the thing in the packet, I can't get it out. I'm getting the cover off the knife. So I'm going to scrape these off with the metal scraper very carefully, and you see that the resin is still a bit runny. So that they should just gently just flick off. And as soon as you've done that, don't get fingerprints, don't get on that, because you can print on that bed straight away again. So because it's still got resin or that, that's okay. We as soon as possible, put that back in the machine, secure that. Try not to make too much of a mess. Put the cover back on. Because it's UV sensitive, we tried not to expose it to as much UV as possible. And that's now ready to print the next print job. Now, these are here. What we need to do is wash them to get the excess resin off, and then we're going to cure them. Now, if they were a larger thing, these are only tiny, you would leave them on the little base there and do it that way. But I'm going to cure them and wash them with the base on because they would fall through the basket on my washing machine, which we're going to go to the next thing. So this is a washer and a cure machine. There it is there. Going to take the cover off. Sorry, it's a bit CC. Now, because I have not ran this one since we last used the machine, I'm now going to fill it up with cleaning fluid. Now, the cleaning fluid you use is just alcohol. Isopropyl alcohol or ethanol alcohol. Now, what I do is I use this stuff, a Metho, and I've been buying this from Bunnings, not sponsored. Now, this is 70%. So the higher the quality of the alcohol, the better. This is a cheaper way of doing it because it's going to take about 4 litres. 4 litres of isopropyl alcohol will cost me about $40, where 4 litres of this costs me about $20. And I know this works in the washer because it goes cloudy. The resin goes cloudy as washing the resin. So there is resin material being washed off and going into the alcohol because we're seeing that exchange because it goes cloudy. Anyway, I'm going to dump this into the washer. So this is the wash tub here. Now it is it's like a big Tupperware container which seals up, which is good because it keeps all the alcohol and the fumes and that in the little unit. But normally this big plastic tub you fill up, and I'm going to do that. And this is the washing basket that goes in, that everything washes like a fish and chip fry. But if you look at that, and I'll show you when I get the stuff in, they're quite large holes. But anyway, I'm going to fill this up now with my alcohol. I'll talk to you after I've done that. So I've just filled up my tub with the 4 litres of alcohol, and I'm putting these little people, with these little figures, in my fish and chip bowl like this. That's why I left them on their things, because they would fall through that. If you can see that there. So there are all my people in there. This basket then is going into me alcohol. And we put the lid on. What I do is, it does use that, and we are going to put chemicals in the alcohol. It's going to get cloudy. So what I do is I do a half-life cycle. So that's 4 litres is for doing little stuff is okay, but if you're doing bigger stuff, you're going to need more. So what I often do is after about a couple of weeks when it gets cloudy, I then just do a mix and put 2 more new litres in. You do have a bit of evaporation, you do use stuff in bits and pieces. Anyway, I'm going to talk to you, I'm going to turn this on. Oh, power switch is around the back. Swap the camera. Oh, where's that power switch, Dave? Right, machine is on. So what I do is I do a half-life top-up. So in a couple of weeks' time, depending how much I'm printing or the end of the week, I will then put 2 extra 1 litres in there to think. Now, so what we've got to do now, we've got to wash those prints to get all the excess off it. So on this one, I go wash. We're just going to do a normal wash, and it's only going to need about 5 minutes. Now, I always go 10, just to be on the safe side, but the default is 5. So what it's going to do is now, there's a little bladey down there, and that's going to swirl that alcohol around those prints, and they're going to have a bit of a float and a bit of a swim. This is only normal speed. You should see this thing on fast speed. Now that is why I've left them on their little support bases, because with them washing around in there and they get a bit of a swim, they can fall, the little things can fall out of the basket. Anyway, this has got to go for a swim for about 9 minutes and 32, and then we'll come back and we'll see the next stage of the thing. Hang on, we might go fast mode just to say, look, oop, watch this. I'm just going to swap it over and go into fast mode, just for the sake of it. Those poor little things are going to get spun around in there very quickly. They probably don't need 10 minutes at fast mode. In fact, it's probably a silly thing to do because it could damage the details on the prints. But anyway, they're having a wash in the wash mode, and the next thing is curing in the cure mode. But I've got to go and get rid of those Mepho bottles that I dumped in the machine. Now this is just a side note to the video. I don't know how well, I can't see, I'm out in the bright sunlight, but I actually recycle some of my old Mepho, some of my old alcohol. So what I've done is I've dumped the alcohol out of the machine. I filter it first for a bit of a paint filter, you know, the painters you use when you're spray painting paint. So I filter the heavy stuff in. I put these in these glass jars, and we put this out in the sun. Because the resin is UV based, what happens is I don't know if you can see it how much, but a sludge forms down on the bottom of the jar. So because the sunlight is curing that resin out, it gets heavy. I don't want to stir my vats up too much. And all that crud that's come out of the last print run that's been washed off is now sitting at the bottom. So if you're very careful and filter it out, you then filter out the resin, you can use some of that alcohol again. And some people also water down their alcohol because they some people water it down, use Mepho and water it 50-50. Here comes a pussycat to explore. Get out of that. That's grog puss. You can do that. But what I have done is I have some there's this sunlight curing process. So you're curing that resin out of the alcohol if you put the stuff out in the sun. And I've had some success with that. Some people will say to do it this, some people don't. But that works for both Mepho or IPA. You've got to get some decent glass jars. Make sure the glass jars are cheap and nasty so they don't have any UV coating on it, and stick them out in the sun. And days like this, take a couple of days, the muck will stick to the bottom. And then you clean out your jars and start again. But that's what you can do. You don't have to. Some people just get rid of the alcohol. Now we're having a bit of a disaster, and this is, I said, the problem with the small models is the poor pussycat and the rabbits. He's dropped down in the hole there of the fan, and he's getting beaten up. But look at this. This is how quick that sets up a big vortex in there. Now I don't know if you noticed that, how much, but that alcohol has started to go a bit cloudy because it's got the muck in it. But that poor rabbit, he's fallen down there. We'll have to pull him out. We might stop it from spinning. They've had a bit of enough of a wash. But yeah, because they're such tiny things, and we've lost one, this is not good. They've gone down inside the grate of the washer. Bit of a disaster. It wouldn't be right if it wasn't a Dave show, if it wasn't a disaster. Anyway, these can come out now of the wash, and then we'll look at what happens next. They only need about 5 minutes washing, but they've got a bit more than that because I did it at high speed. Okay. Open your lid up. Now you do this as quick as you can because you don't want to expose yourself to the fumes. What I'm actually going to do is, hang on, I'm going to do something first. So my washing's done. These come out of the washing, a bit like a fish and chip shop. That's what I'm saying about the tiny thing, is it's gone down. One of the cats, we're going to have to go fishing. One of the cats has fallen out of the basket, come off his stand. But hang on, let's dump this over here. Now they are still a bit, everybody's gone through the basket. That's our waste stand from that. Oh, I think I've just broken the cat's head off. We'll have to do some more. Pussycat's gone down. Look at that, his tail's stuck through. Anyway, so they're out of the basket. It's one of the pussycats has fallen out. Down there, just fished him out, so he's tiny. Anyway, so the best thing about the alcohol is it will evaporate, go everywhere. You try not to get it everywhere. Put the cover on the tub as quick as possible. Sorry if this is all jerky because I'm doing it one-handed. I really should have a camera person help. Okay, so that's all sealed up again in that tub, that alcohol. So here are our little bits and pieces. Now these are, I don't have anything like a coin or something to show you for scale, but these are tiny. So these are tiny little things. So the pussycats, that's the stand the pussycat was on. That's pussycats. There's some rabbits and a puppy dog. Now, where have I got? I've got nothing here to show you the scale, but these things are, believe me, these are tiny. So what we're going to do now is the next stage is they're going to be cured. Now we're just letting some of the alcohol evaporate off quickly. But what I can do is now these are still quite flexible and brittle, even though it's resin. If I grab this with the nippers, or I could probably even bend it with my fingers, not with the camera. So anyway, I'm going to do this so I can show you that this is quite brittle and flexible. So if you wanted to do it now, now's a good time for these little things. I'm not going to do them one-handed. I'm going to cure the next stage is to cut them off their bases because we don't need them bases on them anymore. So what we're going to do now is, because the resin is brittle, it's going to go over here into the curer. Now this is a washer cure. So what I do is now I take off this big tub of Mepho, so it comes off. And it sits over here on this plastic bag, this old dining chair that we are planning to get rid of very soon, so don't panic. But there's a plastic bag, and I put that Mepho tub over there. And now, this is the cure stand. See, this little thing goes in the same washer dryer. I've got to bend over here, make you all seasick. Oh, come on. Doing this all one-handed. Look, if I get down here with me. So this thing goes in a little thing. So the same thing that spins the thing is going to now cure these animals. Now, once again, they need about 10 minutes of curing. Now put the cover on because this is UV. Put the cover around the right day, Dave. It helps. So they're now in this cure box. Now this is, you can make these online or you can build them, but I bought one because it's just easier. Was actually a little bit dearer than what actually the printer cost me. But anyway, was the one that Creality was selling. So now this is going to cure. So I go into cure mode. I'm just going to do normal cure. I'm going to do 15 minutes just because this is the first run. You do want to. In fact, a lot of time I cure double what they say. But anyway, so now that's in the thing, and we push cure. Oh, I've stuffed up. Now, do you see that? The paper towel's stuck in the machine. I just use the paper towel because it's just convenient. You don't actually have to use paper towel. I just do it because it's easier for me to handle. Okay, so we'll put the cover on. Lots of disasters and stuff humps in this program. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go in cure on our machine. Speed is normal. The time, we're going to go 15. They reckon the default's that. Actually, for this case, I'm going to go 20. And you push the go button. Now, that is being cured by UV. If it's a big model, you may have to turn them over because you want to cure the bases. But really, it's only what's on them. And that's the process to make them. So they're going round and then around. We'll have a look at them very soon. So they're going to have to cure. Now that paper towel, Dave, was really not a good idea because it's going to block some of the UV because you want the UV to get right around the models. If you wanted to cure the base of them, of course, you would have to roll them over to the base. We might do that. We might do an extra cure in this process, but that is now curing. This machine won't start unless you have the cover on the cure station, just because it protects your eyes. And of course, this is this funny colour this is a UV shield, because this is all a UV process. Okay, we'll let them have their spin and we'll come back after that's done. Well, here we go. I'm going to shake you around a bit. These prints have now washed and cured. I'm going to take the whole thing over here and show you something. Just come with me. Now, oh, just drop one on the floor. Golly gosh, Dave. Back in a sec. There you go. That's annoying. I've just dropped one of the cats on the floor, but these are tiny. This is where our 3D prints are. Now, to show how tiny they are, and this isn't going to relate to anybody unless you're an Australian, but there you go. That's a 20-cent piece, and that's a 5-cent piece into the size of these. I actually might do the next batch just a little bit bigger. So that's the next thing. So there you go. There's some tiny little rabbits. Don't know how close we can get in to see the details on the ears. See if we can zoom in on the 5-cent piece. So there are some rabbits and some dogs and some cats. Now, those cats probably about the right scale. They're probably about the right for the O gauge. That dog's probably a little bit small, but he can be a small dog. But look at those. They're the rabbits. And I'm probably going to do another batch. Especially the rabbits come in handy around the place, and the cats and that. So, yeah. So they're cured, they're safe to touch, they're safe to play with. The next step would be to paint them, which I'm not going to do today. Now, what I do want to do, and I want to do some pigeons and some seagulls and more cats and dogs. Wouldn't mind doing some rats or mice. That's probably pushing me luck, but that's the thing. So now we've got the machine recommissioned and up and running. I might just do another batch of these fellas, just a little bit bigger. Once again, the more you can do in one print run is the better. I don't think I'll take you along for that. But anyway, I just realised getting around the floor, I've got a big clean-up job. I've got to clean up around the floor now because I've got bits and pieces and see where I can find where that cat went. Anyway, that's a quick rundown on doing resin printing as opposed to FDM. I do have to do some other printing this week. I have commissioned to do one of my beady dragons, which I've got to set up a machine to do that and do bits and pieces. But there you go. So what I'm going to do now is they're washed, they're dried, they're cured, they're ready to go. Your next stop would be to paint. And we might talk about that later in another video. But yeah, I'm going to go and set up to do another batch of these. Now that I know the machine's commissioned, I'll do a big batch and do a big print run. And we'll see how that goes. I'll take you along for the ride, but there you are. So if you want to know how fine and how small they are for the Aussies, that's a 20-cent piece. That's a 5-cent piece. I was trying to find something so I could scale them so you could see. But that is the advantage of having the resin printer, is you can do really, really little things. The only hassle is the size of this present. The size of this one, which is the Creality machine, that is a Harlot 6. It only does little things, which is really good because that's what I want it to do. I want it to do little fine scale things compared if I want to do big jobs. I've got my big FDMs. Anyway, get out of your hair and I'll get another batch ready for printing and then we'll have a chat again soon. Now for those who are wondering, somebody's going to go, but what happened to that cat, Dave, that you lost? Well, look, there he is there. I'll zoom in on, there's that little cat. That's the cat that I lost. It went flying. I did recover it. That's the size of the thing. I'm going to leave these on these bases till they're painted. Some people do bits and pieces, but anyway, that's where we're up to. That's what we've printed, and now I'm going to go and do another batch of them all. I might increase the size up a little bit, and I will do a bigger batch in the system. But there we go. I'll talk to you later again. So I've just finished my second batch for the day. That's probably all I'm going to do today for now. I'm still chasing some stuff we want to print, but anyway, Let's lift this out. Have a look at that. I don't know if you can guess what we've done, but hang on. Let's unscrew them. Take this off. Stick it over here. Now these ones have required a little bit more supports, which you do in the software. Now you'll notice that they're shiny. That's the resin. Don't know if you can see that. But what I'm going to do is just very gently knock them off. That's not going to work with me holding the camera, but anyway, look at that. Let's see if I can. Oh, there you go, some rabbits. Those rabbits without a base on them are going to be almost impossible to go in the washer. Which I don't know how they managed to go through the process without a base on them, but anyway, that's the fun and the games of the thing. Okay, straight away we're going to swap hands, making sure that's clean and clear, no dirt on it. Don't be tempted to scrape that off. Put your cover on as soon as you can, back on your UV, and have a look at that. So these are on little support bases. The machine does it automatically in the slicer. Puts little support legs to hold everything up, so that emu. Now, there's some rabbits here. We're going to lose those rabbits in the washer. For some reason, they didn't get a base on them like the other rabbits we did over here. But anyway, we might do another batch of rabbits with bases and see how we go. So there we are. We have a dog, a couple of emus. We've got some boxing kangaroos, because the boxing kangaroos I have sort of like fell apart a bit because they were FDM, and some bits and pieces, some more pussycats. There's a wombat, there's some possums. And we're going to put these in the washer. In the dishwasher. I don't know how those rabbits are going to go. Ooh, that was the stuff up, Dave. Well, I've been printing things on and off. We've got a quite good selection of stuff. The rabbits, I had to do some rabbits again with the bases on. These are rabbits with the bases on. I'll do more detail close up later, but they're the rabbits. The ones that fell through. They survived. Quite a few of the rabbits are getting beaten up by the wash and losing their ears. So we have got a few rejects and chucked them out, but there's some good little rabbits. These are the ones that fell out. They are tiny. Once again, here's a 5-cent piece. See if we can zoom in. One little tip. I just got these emus that have just come out of the washer, and they're going to go into the into the curer. And if you notice over here, don't know how well it'll show, but because I've been doing quite a few prints and cycling, that mepho's getting rather cloudy. Might want to zoom out, Dave. That mepho's rather cloudy, so we can tell that's actually working as a washing solution, because it is taking on the excess resin in there in the solution. So yep, that must be working as a washing solution. If it wasn't working, it wouldn't be going cloudy. It wouldn't be absorbing any of the resin. Anyway, on these things, when they come out of the wash, they are quite still flexible. So a little hint is when you're working with fine stuff, and I did that to the new kangaroos I did some new boxing kangaroos. If there's supports that you want to remove, like these supports here, now is the time to remove these ones. So I'm going to grab these and nip them off, because once you cure it, it becomes quite brittle. And often then when you're doing stuff, you can break bits off. So that's the thing, is the resin is very brittle. It's not like the PLA, the printing that I use in other machines, it has a bit of flex, a bit of give. So what I'm going to do is on these ones, I'm going to cut these bits here, because if I do that when they're trying to do it so you can see it on the camera, you can actually shatter, if you do them at the wrong time, the model and the bases. So I'm going to cut these off, these supports, while they're still not flexible. Especially this one is this emu here. You can't see what I'm doing, but there's a support in the wrong spot. So I'm gently going to take that off. I tried to do some really, really tiny emus, so I can do a daddy, so like mummy, not mummy, but daddy emu. So I tried to do emus a couple of sizes, Some of them survived, some of them didn't. So these are the emus I did. So that's sorry. I just wanted to say one of the little hints about working with the red. So there's going to be some of these supports, and I might show you one that actually fade. We'll see if we can do that. Is to cut some of the support material off while the models are still flexible before you cure them, because once they get cured, they get quite brittle. Okay, that's what I wanted to say. I just was moving this emu, and I thought I might demonstrate this. So this is the emu that hasn't been cured yet. So as you can see, if I get it in the thing, that even if I wobble it gently, there is still quite a bit of movement flexibility in that model before it's been cured in the resin. So you can see that is that flexibility and give, compared to something that is, this emu here has been cured and is quite stiff and there's no wobble there. You see does that demonstrate what I'm trying to demonstrate? That's solid, where this emu that hasn't cured, if you notice carefully, if I wobble him, there is still some, I don't know if you can see that, there's still some flexibility. Look, yeah, I'll bend him. There's still some flexibility and give in that emu. I can actually manipulate the model a little bit. Once, very hard to get this on camera, holding them. So there's still some flexibility there. Zoom in a bit in that emu. But once they're cured, they're not. Anyway, whoa, what a hot one. So this is, I'm trying to show you how brittle this resin is after it's been cured, but I've filmed some videos, not a lot of success. Anyway, so this is a bit of the resin. Now this is a piece of, and it's gone through the washing and curing, and I'm trying to get it to break. Oh, this is not going to work, is it? Anyway, there you go. I don't know if you can hear that crack and the breaking. It's almost ceramic. The resin is very, very, very brittle. I don't know if you can see that me breaking up. I have damaged quite a few of these little figures because I drop them and ears break off, the bits break off. Here's a piece of, I'll show you. I wonder if this will be a good demo. So this is a piece of washed and cured resin. Boof. I don't know if it's coming across on the camera how brittle it is, but oh, there's so much energy in that re-releasing, that bit shot across the room. Lovely. But it is quite brittle and fragile. I've got another batch of these seagulls in the washer. Where's my 5 cents? Now, unfortunately, I've been to the doctor today and he's not happy with my latest test results. So I have to go for a medication change starting tonight. And tomorrow we're doing a whole new medication, whole new regime. When I do that, it often knocks me around for a week and a bit. So I don't know how we're going to go next week or with the videos, but hopefully you've seen this week and you've seen okay. If this is the end of the video, farewell, goodbye. I've been Dave in the Shed. You've been a lot of fun. Don't forget, like and subscribe. Now, there may be a part 2 because tomorrow I'm going to do a clean down and a change on my resin vat just to show you what happens, how we clean it and get that ready for the next print. But if I'm no good tomorrow, we're not doing it. So, until we meet again, this could be goodbye from Dave. No, I'll give you an update tomorrow what's going on. But till then, we'll chat later. G'day folks, how you going? It's Friday. This is the last part of the video. I'm going to sort of like film this and edit it all up. Sad day in New South Wales Government Railways. The last of the V-sets has run and finished. If you watched some of my videos, you saw the model of the V-sets that I was working on, and we got up, done a lot of stuff on that. My V-set is still out in the train room, waiting for a bit of the paint touch-up to do the Blue Goose front on it, but anyway. Right, yeah, so that's it. The last commercial running of the V-set, which is the last Australian-built interurbans for now, electric interurbans. Unless we build some more in Australia again. Can't see that happening in my lifetime. Done and dusted. Okay, now we've been printing with the 3D printer for a week. It's time to clean out the resin vat, because as you print, every now and then you get failures and bits break off prints, and the way the printer works, they all end up in that vat. So it's a time to clean out the vat. Now how you do this is, well, you just pour that back into the bottle. Now I've printed up, and you find these prints online, you tell them all that, so that's printed on my FDM printer, is this fancy funnel that sits over the jar of resin. It's quite nifty. It's got that little thing there, so resin runs in. This is a filter that you use in spray painting and stuff to filter debris out of paint when you're filling up your paint gun, so you don't get any lumps. And physically, what I'm going to do is one-handed, hopefully show you, film this as I go along. Unscrew this vat, and you can see muck in there already. I don't know if you can see that. There's a couple of bits and pieces of grooblies in there. I don't know what the official name is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to undo this vat. Now, once again, remember what I said earlier in the piece, whatever you do, do not put that metal scraper in. Now I'm going to try and do this one hand with the camera and not pour resin everywhere. Pull out. And I'm going to slowly, now this is pretty thick material, and I'm going to slowly let it pour around. The worst thing you want to do is overrun your funnel and your filter, because that just makes a bloody big mess. Ask me how I know. I'll just pull this up a bit. So if you're lucky, that'll sit there and drain out. If you can get it to sit, this one's not going to sit. I'm going to have to find something else off camera to let it sit and filter through. But down on the bottom, we have, let's see if we can get in there. There's a couple of bits of resin that have stuck on there. See that? A bit hard to stand out in the colour. They're stuck on the thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the video and I'm going to support this and let this drain. And I will show you there's a couple of bits of resin stuck on the bottom of the frap. I've managed to get that to balance there, so we're not going to touch it, but it's now draining into that vat. And if you see if I can zoom in, so you can find there are little bits of resin stuck to the table. I'll see if I can point to them. See them just there? So we're going to drain this vat, and then we will clean them out and hopefully not damage the frap. Then it'll be ready to print again, but I'm going to leave this sit for a couple of minutes, probably 10-15, and then we'll come back and have a look at it, because it is a bit of a slow process. It's not very viscous, this resin. Oh, and we have a problem already. Okay, over in that bottom, just looking at that frap will have to be replaced, because look at that. As the resin's drained out, there is a hole in it. Okay, so luckily I've got spare fraps and bits and pieces, and I've got spare vats now, but there is a hole now. So luckily we pulled this out and changed it now, because if that started to leak, it would be game over for the machine. So I'm not going to drain that out too much, because it's game over for that one. Wow. That's lucky we changed that. That hole appearing. Which means I've got to clean up this machine very carefully, because we now have resin down in there, and luckily it's only just in that lip and we can clean it out, because if it had gone down under that thing, boom, crash, game over to a second machine. I'll get back to you. No need to panic, no need to panic. What I thought was a hole is not. It actually hasn't leaked, which is good. I thought there was a tiny little hole there in the corner. It's not, because if I turn it over, got to be very careful. It's still dripping out resin. There's not. I thought there was a hole in the bottom here of the membrane, but it's just an air bubble. Don't know if you can see that there. There is just a tiny little speck of something, just right. You probably can't see on the camera, right in the corner, but it's not a hole, which is good. So we'll finish letting this drain for a couple of minutes, We then will clean it up with the alcohol. Very, very careful that you don't puncture that membrane because it is so thin, as we spoke about earlier. So there you go. We'll let that drain for a bit, and then we'll wash it out with some alcohol. Very, very, very carefully get rid of the residual resin. There is a way that you can actually put through the machine and expose that resin, and we might do that. It's called a cleaning cycle. We might show you that in a sec, only because the cleaning cycle can actually damage the frap, but I've got spare fraps and I've got spare vats, so it's worth just showing you the cleaning cycle and how that works, just for the sake of videoing it. I don't normally do that in standard practice because it can do damage. Well, what the cleaning cycle does is you expose the resin that's left on there to harden it on the machine. We might do that in a sec. We're just going to let this drain for a couple of minutes and then we'll get back to it. So I've carefully drained that vat. I think I've got all out of it that is going to drain out of it. Now you can see those couple of bits there that are stuck to it. Now I did carefully give this a wipe with the plastic scraper, which they send for the purpose. I carefully gave the inside. This is looking from the bottom to the top of the vat, from the bottom of the vat out. And I've carefully given it a scrape and clean. And as you notice, if you look around this seal, there is resin that's gone under that surface, but it has not leaked out, so we're safe and good. There's a few little groovies there. Whoop, going to knock the thing over. But inspecting that edge, no resin has leaked out. Now this is a metal gasket that sits over that because it's a very, really fine piece of plastic. And the metal bit goes over there and it pulls it up really, really, really tight with all those screws and tucks it in there. Almost forms a pressure seal. But that resin can seep under the edges and eventually you will get a failure. So anyway, it's good. That's why it's good about every week. Clean out your vat and look at your BAP or what's it called? It's got a name, one of those silly ones anyway. So yeah, so that is the bottom of the resin vat. It's going to fall off, so I can take it out of there. That's the stuff that's gone through that filter. So that's all the muck that was floating around in the vat. Looks like a couple of dead seagulls, bits of wings. So that's all that material that is floating around that's fallen off, failed prints fallen in the vat. So that could stuff up your printing. And that there is a couple of pigeons. The arse ends of the pigeons stuck on my thing. So now I'm not sure what I should do. This is where you get confused. I'm not sure if I should just wash this out very carefully with some pure IPA, pure isopropyl alcohol, to dissolve all that. Or what I should do is, what you can do is put this through. The machine has a cleaning cycle where the UV light comes out and exposes all that leftover resin and hardens up so you can clean off. So I might do that. I've got a spare one of these ready to go. Not that I need it. I did buy a spare one brand new with this one because of the failures we had. There is a few, I'm not going to change this one instantly, but there's a few little marks on it that don't do a lot of justice. There is a few little dings and bits and pieces. I don't know how it comes across the camera reflection. But anyway, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on the machine and we're going to put it through the cleaning cycle and then see what happens. Now I've taken the build plate out because from what I know is don't do this with the build plate on because it'll stick all that in. This build plate we are just going to clean off with some IPA. And if you put anything on that, really, really soft tissue. Don't use kitchen paper, even that's too harsh. Just soft thing like a normal household tissue. So what we're going to do over here is we're going to go to settings. Now there is somewhere a cleaning thing. I have to find where it is. Cleaning. See there, that one there. It says cleaning. Settings, cleaning. Please confirm whether you need to clean the trough, and we do. So we're going to go OK. And what it does is for 20 seconds, it exposes, and you'll see how that little, I don't know if you can see it, little greeny light, that's the greeny light, that's the UV light shining through the bed, because the bed is fully open, it's fully exposing all of that, and now it's gone off. So that has exposed all the resin to UV light, so any little bits and pieces should now be solid, and hopefully we can now just wash them off with some IPA. So that's the next thing we're going to do. So I'm doing this bit out in the laundry, just because I want it outside, because the cleaning chemical is a bit stinky. This room's vented to outside really good. And what I'm going to do is quickly clean this with this. This is pure 100% isopropyl alcohol. It's the really, really good stuff. I buy this from a local cleaning product company in bulk, and I use it just for doing this type of cleaning stuff. It gets very expensive if you use this in your cleaning vat, in your big tub, although some people do use it then water it down. There is that recycling process as well, what I showed you. But anyway, here we go. And I am physically just going to quickly, I'm going to try and do this one-handed and film, open this stuff. Going to do this quick as possible. This stuff's a bit stinky. So I just splash some very carefully. Oop, can't see what we're filming. Pour that over that thing. I'll give that a wipe off a sec, and I put some in that vat. And this stuff evaporates quickly. So I've got to put you down, and I'm going to work quickly, but I'm just going to clean off that build plate, and then I'm going to clean off that tub, and that's actually evaporated quickly, so I've got to go. So those little gooey ducts, or whatever you want to call them, are now off. I don't know how much you can see, but that's then just dissolving. There is some bits of resin in there that are left over, but that vat is pretty clean. So I'm just going to dispose of that. I probably shouldn't tip that down the sink. Clean that out, and then that alcohol will evaporate, and I am wiping it down just with a snotty tissue, like Kleenex tissue, not anything harder, just to get the rest of them and that particles out the bottom of that tray. Well, there we are. Machine's all cleaned up and back together and ready to do the next round of 3D printing, I hope. If you have any doubts about your plastic in there, replace it. This one is a little bit speckly, but I think it's going to be okay. Could be just dust. I do have to let it dry, all the IP evaporate, and I'll give it another quickly wipe down with a clean, soft tissue. Put the cover back on. Keep the dust down the machine, like that. Now, this is what the release film comes in. They are put in. There are instructions on the packet. This stuff's not expensive. Can't tell you. It is a bit of a process to pull it out. Trap for young players is the plastic sheet has a protective peel off on both sides. You've got to make sure that peel off sheet is off both sides of the thing before you put it in. I've put one back together and left a piece of the protective film on, would you believe? It printed once, okay, and then it just went to poo. But anyway, make sure when you're putting your new release film in, get the protective layer off both sides of it. And it is very thin, it is a finicky thing. So, but if any doubts, change it. Remember that this resin 3D printing is a photographic process. Anyway, let's have a quick wrap up of what we've managed to achieve. This week I have printed some emus. Now I'm hoping that out of these emus, and that'll be next week's video, that we may have a dad emu and a couple of baby emu scenes. We've got some pussycats and some dogs and some rabbits. Some more of the emus. Redone me boxing kangaroos. And hopefully out of all these we might get one or two seagulls. Hopefully to do some pigeons and some other bits and pieces, maybe some rats and mice, but you never know. This is only a entry level. This is only what they call a 2K. You can get 4K resolutions now that can really do a lot fine, a lot bigger job, but I don't use it that much. And really working in 7mm scale, don't really need one of the fine ones. But if one came up cheap and suited my needs, I would grab one, okay? But it'd have to be cheap, have to do my purpose. Anyway, that's it for this week. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Leave a comment down below if you liked it. Comments about anything about my movie process, my making. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this video if you can, and enjoy yourself. And this program is all about doing something different. So get out there, do something different, have some fun. So till we meet again, I've been Dave in the shed. And don't forget, like I often say at the end of the movies, you don't know what you can do or what you can't do till you try. Anyway, catch you next week. What I'm going to do is put the cover on this this here. And all we're left to do is turn some power off on some machines, which I'm going to do. Let's go around here. Turn that one off. Turn that off. I've got to clean up that fraper. Look at that. Less that a messy, Dave. Okay. This is all Creality. If you're interested in any of the stuff that I've used, I'm not sponsored, hit me up and I will let you know the equipment, the brands, all the stuff and bits and pieces. But I'm not going to do that till somebody asks, because I'm a lazy type of turd. Plus, tell you what, I'm a bit crook today. Feeling a bit rough. Anyway, catch you next week. Look after yourselves. Take care. Can't do one of those walkie out of the shots as I walk out of the room. Catch you later. Catch you later. Catch you later.